Okay, everyone, we've done it. We've made it to video 4 of 4, the final installment of our mini unit of parts of speech. Today is adverbs. Here are our objectives, and again, I always need to plug if you just happen to find this video, installment 4 of 4 in the mini unit, I ask you to go back and watch part 1 nouns, part 2 verbs, part 3 adjectives, and then come back to adverbs, especially for this case because adverbs happen to be a rather complex and broad part of speech. So I want to make sure that you understand the basics first before we jump into something like adverbs. As for our objectives, they look very similar to our objectives for adjective. Just like before, we are going to understand the definition of adverb. We are going to locate these adverbs within a sentence, and then we're going to recognize how adverbs are used to enhance our writing. So much like adjectives, if you're starting to get some predictions going, they're very similar to adjectives. They serve distinct purposes, but they are both used as a form of enhancement. So not necessary in a sentence, but they do make our writing more effective and just more vivid. So what are adverbs? Adverbs are a verb's best friend, whereas adjectives were a noun's best friend. They help describe verbs, they help modify verbs, and they help change the manner, frequency, and certainty of verbs. And if we're looking at the bottom here, adverbs add depth to action statements, and they may even describe adjectives. So like I said, this is a pretty broad and complex type of part of speech. So I want to make sure that we have gotten down the basics first before we start talking about adverbs. So I'm running out of colors here, but just as always, our nouns are going to be that lighter shade of blue boxed. Our verbs are going to be circled in orange. Adjectives, if there are any, are underlined in purple, and our adverbs, which we are spotlighting throughout this video, will be squiggly lined, underlined in a darker blue compared to what we had for nouns. Now, I had said this earlier in the video, but adjectives and adverbs, they are not 100% necessary in sentences. You will not always find an adjective. You will not always find an adverb in a sentence like you will a noun and a verb especially. So some of these sentences may not have adjectives at all. They will have noun and they will have verb, but I just wanted to make sure that that is clear, that these two concepts right here, these are more of they're like our sprinkles. I can eat a cupcake without sprinkles, but it's just more fun, it's more vivid when we do have them on there, right? So let's take a look at our first example. Megan, she's a person, so we're gonna box her. Megan ran quickly. There are only 3 words here, so it looks like we're going 3 for 3. Since we are spotlighting adverbs, we can pretty much tell that this last one is not going to be an adjective. It is an adverb. And what could quickly possibly be describing? Our verb. We're describing how Megan ran. We can just straight up say Megan ran, but did she run slowly? Did she run quickly? Did she run speedily, hastily, begrudgingly? These are all different sort of flavors or sprinkles that we can put onto this sentence to make it more interesting and to give it its own unique taste, depending on the word that we choose. With our next sentence here, I, pronoun, not quite a noun. Drank my milk slowly. My milk. Milk's going to be our noun. We've got a verb here, drank. That leaves slowly. That is going to be our adverb, which is describing what? Right there. It is describing how I drank my milk. Did I drink my milk quickly? Did I drink my milk hurriedly? No, I drank it slowly. That is how we describe the action of me drinking milk. And for our last example here, I've got the music was too loud. Let's see here. That's going to be our state of being. And this is going to be a little bit of an interesting case. I want everyone to pay attention here because loud, as we know, that's a description. That is explaining like what kind. It is going to be an adjective, but there is most definitely an adverb present in this sentence. What could it possibly be? It's not going to be the. It's to. And to is a word it's pretty interesting because it is describing intensity. And what are we describing exactly? It's not the verb in this case, it's the adjective. Remember, if we go back to the previous slide, just a few minutes before this example set, we did talk about how adverbs can, in some instances, describe adjectives. They're more or less a very broad category of description. So they're not bound to describe verbs. So we always need to make sure that we are diagramming, whether physically or mentally, our sentences, so that we can really see how all of these parts of speech are interacting with each other. So there's no practice necessarily to do here, but I did want to outline something pretty interesting that happens within the English language regarding our formation of adverbs. So here are, on the left, a set of adjectives that are relatively common. Quick, loud, quiet, soft, colorful, intense, and slow. These are all words that help describe nouns, because as we know, if we watch that previous video, the parts of speech, the third installment of our mini unit, we talked about how adjectives are a noun's best friend, how an adjective helps describe and enhance our writing regarding nouns. Now, one thing that we can use to help identify adverbs or even form adverbs from adjectives that we know is we are recurringly adding this ly to the end of all of those adjective words from the other side. So all of these end up being translated to adverbs with that simple addition of ly. So I could talk about the quick cat that ran away, or I could say that the cat ran away quickly. And in that second form, that latter sentence, quickly came up as the adjective. That cat ran away quickly. Let me write that out for everybody, just so that we can see how that changed. In its adjective form, the quick cat ran away. Okay, so in this one, I've got cat. That's my noun. And the adjective, that's underlined in purple, right? So we're saying the quick cat ran away. And then, of course, our verb right there. So I'm using quick to describe cat. And if we are contrasting, okay, if we're looking for that adverb form, we're going to say the cat ran away quickly. So with our last case, quick was the noun's best friend, quick cat. But here, cat is still our noun. Ran is still our verb. However, quickly, that is going to describe our noun, ran. And all we did, we were essentially using the same substance of the word. It means the same thing, but with this simple addition of ly, we change it from its adjective form to its adverb form. These are not the only words within the English language that you can do this with. And you can't do them with all adjectives. It's not going to work 100% of the time. This is just a nice rule of thumb, a nice little guideline that we can use for words that you're familiar with in their adjective form to translate them and change them to their adverb form, and vice versa. And just like we concluded our adjective video, I would like everyone to try and take a shot at enhancing these pretty boring sentences that I've got written for you. I entered the library, making sure not to disrupt the students taking a test. The pudgy dog ran into the house to devour her food. That's actually a direct reference to my dog. The music was loud last night. I'm sleepy this morning because I didn't get any rest. Tell my parents that I broke a vase. I was being clumsy and walked into the table it was resting on. These are not necessarily interesting sentences. We can make them better through the addition of adverbs. So I want everyone to try and take a shot at making their own unique sentences using your own contributions of adverbs into these sentence frames. At the other end of the countdown that I'll have at the top of the screen, I'm going to input my own contributions, and then we could see how everyone measures up. Alrighty, just to finish up everything here are my contributions for the sentence frames that I've given everyone here. I timidly entered the library, making sure to not rudely disrupt the students taking a test. And we are using timidly to describe how I entered the library, and we are using rudely to describe how I would disrupt or not disrupt the students taking a test. Just like on the previous page, we are observing that little cheat. Timid, that's an adjective, but timidly, that's an adverb. Rude, an adjective. Rudely, that's an adverb. So here we're still seeing that conversion of adjective, a simple noun's best friend, a simple way to describe a noun, and then changing it by adding ly to help describe adjectives or verbs. Next, the pudgy dog awkwardly ran into the house to devour her food. Awkwardly, that is describing how my dog ran into the house, and we are still seeing that ly addition. The music was too loud last night. I'm so sleepy this morning because I didn't get any rest. No adjective translation here, but we are seeing these right here. They're a little bit different from the other adverbs we've seen so far, but they still help lend themselves to describe intensity of adjectives. Loud, that's an adjective. Sleepy, that's another adjective. So with these previous examples, these three, these are all verbs. But we're seeing here that is an adjective and that is an adjective. So these appear a little bit different. And lastly, tell my parents that I accidentally broke a vase. I was being quite clumsy and walked into the table it was resting on. Accidentally, that is going to describe how I broke the vase. It wasn't intentional. I was being quite clumsy. Quite clumsy, that is going to be describing how clumsy I was, which was quite. This concludes the mini unit that we had on parts of speech. This is video 4 of 4. So if you happen to miss any of the other ones, if you want to go back and practice those parts of speech, absolutely feel free. The practice is just as good. So if you have any questions, any sort of clarifications, or if you want to ask any more inquiries about the other parts of speech that exist within the English language, feel free to contact me during class or email me. And as always, I hope you enjoyed everything that we went through. I hope you learned something, and I hope you apply all of these concepts, or at least some of these concepts, in the writing that you do throughout school and your life, and even your speech. Happy learning.